effort isn't something that you see as difficult if the effort produces results. It's only when you put in the effort and it doesn't produce the results at least equal to or more than what you put in. What should I do? Which path should I take if I feel like I got two paths, and when you're doing something brand new like this, it feels like you got 15 paths, right? So it's like being able to dial those down and say, okay, this is the direction.
But how have you grown through these 4 pillars personally? Introduce yourself. What do you help people do?
So
I guess introduce yourself, and then who do you help and what do you help them do?
So my name is Lon Wilkinson. I have Mentor the Beast. And what I really help people do is to grow themselves in tandem with their business. So I do this through capacity building. So any opportunity that you would have to level, when you say level yourself up, usually what people are thinking about that is change the way they do business, right? Maybe they want to scale, grow and scale, duplicate, whatever it is. A lot of programs out there to be able to increase the size of your business and the amount of people that you can reach. But if you're not growing with that, then the size of that business, you'll crush under the weight of it, because each opportunity comes with an amount of stress and pressure. And if you're not your capacity to handle that stress and pressure is what's really important, because if you can't handle it, you just get crushed from it.
Yep.
So being able to have people grow in tandem with the business allows them to maintain and scale themselves with the business. I do that through 4 pillars. I call the 4 pillars of capacity. So it's physical, emotional, mental, and financial. And you grow in those 4 areas. And like I said, you and your business grow in those 4 areas, and you should be solid to go wherever you want to go.
Sweet. We'll come back to that, because I want to know, some people would argue that you're born with your capacity. Other people will argue that you can increase your capacity. Where do you stand on that?
I definitely am you can increase your capacity. So I'll give you an example, right? So emotionally, you have a point where you're either going to explode or shut down. And that's in anything, like whether that's physical, if it's emotional, if it's psychological, financial, your capacity to take advantage of opportunities. How much money do you have, right? Or, what kind of credit do you have? What can you get a hold of the money that it takes? And then do you have the financial literacy to manage it? But emotionally is the pressure and stress that come with taking advantage of any opportunity is going to create emotional pressure and stress on you. So your capacity, of course, it can increase. That's just like math, that of course it can increase, because you can learn to take on more. But that's only if you know how to manage what you're feeling. So, are you feeling anxious? Are you feeling stressed? What is it that you're feeling? Well, that will change depending on how much you practice the particular thing that comes with that. So one of the things that an opportunity that you get is to do speaking, so that you already know a subject and you know it really well to the degree of mastery. You can teach it, but you've never got on stage before. So then you have this, what do they call it? Imposter syndrome, which I don't even believe is a real thing, because it's not imposter syndrome. It's you haven't ever done it before, right? So it's just new, right? It's just new, right? You're anxious and you're nervous because, again, it's new to you. So you can increase your capacity to manage that stress depending on how many times you get on stage and practice, right? And then you're not going to, if you put it as a syndrome or something like that, you're going to label it and there's nothing you can do about it. Now you've given your control away to a label, when you could just say, all right, even though I've done this my whole life, I've never got on stage before. I've never heard myself over a microphone before. I've never been in front of people in this manner before. This is all new to me. So how do I get with a coach? Maybe. Yeah, you could just do it, but if you get with a coach and the coach says, look, what you need to focus on is the fact that you have something to give to these people that they don't have. That's what they want. What you're focused on is how are they going to feel when they hear, you heard yourself over the microphone, it freaks you out. So now that's making you anxious, and you're worried about how are they going to look at you the way you currently feel about yourself. What you're not focused on is what you have to offer these people. And if you can get excited about that instead of anxious about how they're going to take it, there's a reason we brought you on stage today. These people need the message. They need the knowledge that you have, right? When you get excited about that, you get focused on it. I can't wait to get out there on that stage and just give these people, and I'm going to fill them up with this stuff. It changes the way that you think about it, but you still have to practice it.
Yeah.
So
no, that's great.
As far as to your question, can you build your capacity? Oh, I think so for sure.
Yeah.
Dude,
I found with my experience in acknowledging that I have an opportunity for my capacity to grow is simply when I feel overwhelmed. That overwhelm, especially with things that if you think about, most people would just say the things you've been praying for is the things you're experiencing now. It's like we prayed for our overwhelm in many cases. But I know I'm looking at your 4 pillars, and I feel like mental is probably the most important because it's the driver of all. When I think about how I've reframed in my mind in many cases it's like trick myself. I trick myself that I'm in this overwhelm because it's a indicator that there's a new level to grow, because I'm obviously that whatever I'm feeling feels like it's bigger than me. Mm-hmm. But how have you grown through these 4 pillars personally?
So I put them in an order specifically, and so if anybody
would you disagree then that mental doesn't come first?
I would say if you feel like it comes first for you, right? So I have somebody take a clarity assessment when they come into my program, and what that does is really see where you're at, because that may be where you're at.
Good.
Like maybe you have the physical, maybe you have the emotional capacity because you've worked on it a lot, so that doesn't bother you. You're a pastor, you spoke on stage plenty of times, and you've been, doing what you do right now for a while. So you can manage yourself emotionally to a degree that maybe you couldn't before. So maybe that's not a real big issue for you, right? So you say, okay, the big issue for me is mental, right? I mean, I can't argue with that. That's where you're at. That's why you take the assessment, right? So, people come in different places for sure. But if somebody was coming to me new, where I say most people start would be the physical. Why the physical? Because it's the thing that you have the most control over, right? You don't have to pay for coaching. You don't have to pay for it. You can do the physical part. You can always prove to yourself that you can do more physically than you thought you could.
Yeah.
Most especially if you work with a coach. You work with something, like if I work with somebody, I'm going to very quickly take them to their limit as fast as I can. So if I work with somebody, I tell them, okay, here's what we're going to do for this workout. No weights, no nothing, all body weight, but we're going to start here. And I tell them what it is, and they hear it, and they're like, okay, I'm going to give you all I got. And I say, yep, and that'll be the warm up. That's where we'll start. Because I need to get everything that you got out. Because where you're at currently in every situation in your life is due to everything that you got currently, who you are currently. So we need to get to the end of that. And then I'm going to walk you through the chaos a little bit. So I need to walk you into chaos so you can see that you can go into it. And I need to get you through it so you can see I can go in there and still function. I can do more than I thought I could. And that's when people start emotionally breaking down. Their central nervous system starts freaking out. They're like, oh, I'm going to have a heart attack. I'm like, you're not going to have a heart attack. That, oh my God, I can't do this. My legs, you can still move. You can still go. That's why we don't use any weights. I just need you to keep going. And not for long, another 15 minutes, just doing some stuff that you didn't think, taking more, walking lunges, taking more than you thought you could take. When you think you can stop, we're going to just go a little bit further. And if you do that all the time, what's happening is you're getting small wins. Because if you are not living up to what the ideal or the life that you really want. So I'm trying to get people to say, look, what is the lifestyle and life experience that you want? Because that's really that's really what we're after. We're after a lifestyle and life experiences. So lifestyle, like how would you wake up every day? What would you do? Ideally, if you had the life that you want. Not I'm a multi-billionaire and all this. No, okay, so let's just dial it back a little bit and say, what would my daily life look like if I was like, oh, I would love to live that way.
I'd love to just wake up and hang out with the kids.
Exactly. Instead of having to rush to work. Because you spend, the best 8 hours of your day with people who aren't your family.
Yeah.
So, and then they get whatever's left over. So you would love to be able to wake up and spend some time with your kids before you did whatever it is else. Yeah, maybe you did that and you worked out and you did whatever it is that you wanted to do, through the day. You don't have to plan out every second, just, more or less, this is what a day would look like for me. Okay, so that's your lifestyle, and you drive this and you live in this neighborhood that's safe for your kids and your family, that's close to things, so it's convenient. So like dial that in. Okay, what are the experiences that you want? Like the intimate experiences with your kids, with your wife, with your, husband or whatever it is, with your friends, your family. What do those experiences look like? And how long are they? And what is the depth of those, right? What does it really look like for you? And the reason we want to do that is say, okay, so what does that lifestyle and those life experiences cost for a year? If I go skiing for a week during this month, and I do this and I do that. Okay, these are the experiences. This is a lifestyle. These are experiences. Then you can put a monetary value on that. You can say this is going to cost me $120,000 a year, $220,000 a year, whatever it is. Probably not $1 million a year. So we can get that out of your head, because if you're saying, oh, I want to make $1 million a year, but you've never even made 100,000, the gap between your knowledge and skill set and you making $1 million,
right?
Like that's pretty big. Do you even know what you would do with it if you had it? Because if that's what you focus on, and you really just wanted the life that would be a $250,000 life, we can focus on that, get to there, and then say, okay, I'm good with work. Now I can focus on my family. But if not, I'm still focused on that $1 million. You're going to still focus on work. You see what I'm saying? So we want to say, what is the amount of money that it would take for you to have that? What does that look like right now?
Yeah.
And now we can kind of start dialing it in, because the very next question we're going to answer is, do you have the knowledge and skill set to do that right now? Because it could be that you do, right? You just living in the wrong place, working for the wrong people, doing the wrong, you're not doing things that would allow you to do that. Maybe you don't. And we say, okay, what would it take for you to get to that amount? Now we have, okay, that's what the real goal is. But goals aren't the goal, and money's not the goal. Money is a tool. It's a tool to leverage to get to the goal. The goal is always lifestyle and life experiences. Why? Because those can fluctuate. They can move with you, right? A lot of people, they said, I want to win an Olympic medal, and then they win the Olympic medal, and then they commit suicide very shortly after. Why? Because the goal, everything was focused on the goal. It wasn't an experience that they wanted.
Yep.
That now that you have that experience, you see what it's like, you know what it's like to dedicate yourself to something. Now you can carry that on through the rest of whatever it is you do in life, right? But that wasn't what it was, right? That was everything.
Yeah.
And then once it's over, it's like, what do I even do now? So it's like, don't set it that way. You can still get the medal, but make sure you set your mind up. That's mindset. It's like, make sure you set your mind up in the way that it allows for adjustment, for continuation, so it's just lifestyle and life experiences as you go along, but once somebody dials that in and they figure out, okay, this is the amount of money it would take, okay, what could you do to make that? Who would you have to be to do that? What would you need to leverage? What knowledge would you need? What skill set would you need? Who has that? How do you get a hold of it? These are all like realistic things now. Everything starts becoming very real. We start understanding, where do we need to live? We start understanding, what network do I have to have? We start understanding, what courses do I need to take or whatever, so that I can achieve this. Because when you want something and days pass, you like, I want this life. You admire somebody else's life. You admire whatever it is. Every day that you don't get it is a loss. That's you stacking. It's that balance, right? Where it's you stacking up losses, stacking up losses, stacking up losses. Why? Because you didn't do anything to get to it. It's almost like you have that ability, is potential, and you're just not realizing your potential. And every day you don't realize your potential at all is a definite loss. So what you need to do is stack some wins up to counterbalance that.
That's good.
And physically, you can do that really easy because every single day physically, you can put some work in. You can do something to, for me, like one of the things I do is pull-ups, right? I'm going to do 100 pull-ups every workout that I do pull-ups in, which is like at least 3 or 4 times a week. And I alternate with some other stuff. But doing 30 or 40 pull-ups in just one set is difficult. And every time I go to do it, I'm like, you still have that question in your mind. It's like, am I going to be able to get that number today? Because you know, every day you don't feel great. Some days you feel like, I'm going to crush that. And then another day is like, that's a lot. I'm still going to hit my 100, but how many sets is it going to take? And when you do it, and it's hard, but you still accomplished it, and you're in the top percentage of people that can do something like that physically, it sets that in your mind, and that's a win. That's a win. Why? Because you need your confidence to build. Because in business, things are going to be difficult. And you need to know that you can achieve difficult things. You can do difficult things. No matter what, you can still do it. And it might not be to the degree that you wanted it to be, but it's still something in that direction that you wanted to go. So I'll start with the physical, because the physical is very easy to stack wins with. And then I go to emotional. And the reason is, emotionally, like I said, people either explode or they shut down if they can't handle pressure and stress emotionally. And you need to be able to manage yourself emotionally, because that's what you're dealing with everybody with, is your emotions, how you're going to interact with your family, with your friends. Plus, this is the step process that people judge you in, right? So when somebody sees you and they see that you're in great physical condition, they immediately assume discipline. Immediately. Because I don't care, regardless of who you are, if you're in great physical condition, there's only one way you got there, right? Only one way. If you're muscular, if you're cut, you can lose weight. You can be skinny, but, that's just skinny. But if you're in really good physical condition, discipline is the only way you got there. So people see you and they immediately assume discipline. And then you dress for the occasion, whatever the occasion may be. Well, that's respect. That's appreciation, respect and appreciation. So you have that going for you. You said nothing. They see you from distance.
Yep.
Right? Now, the way that you walk into a room, do you have confidence? Do you look like you should be in that room? Can you maintain eye contact? What is the atmosphere that you bring with you when you come into a room? That is your emotional capacity. Because if you go into rooms that the people in that room are at a financial level well above yours, or any level, an intellectual level well above yours, whatever it is, it's going to adjust the way that you operate. It's going to adjust the way that you feel. And those emotions are going to be very visible in your face, very visible in your posture. People are going to say, okay, so you got a suit on, you got a nice watch on, I can tell that you haven't had those on before, or you don't wear them very much because of the way that you're uncomfortable in the suit, keep pulling at it, different little things that you can immediately notice. It's like, you don't really belong here. And it's not that they are judging you in a negative way like that. They're trying to figure out, should they work with you, especially if you're dealing with business people. They're trying to decide, is this person a fake, a phony, or is this person for real? Because if I'm going to do business with this person, put some money on the table with this person, give them my connections, put them in my network, I have to protect my connections. I have to protect my network. Like I'm liable and responsible for this. I don't want to speak for this person. And then, they do something negative to some of my friends, right? So they're judging you that way right off the jump. Mm-hmm. So physically, the way you look, the way you dress, the way you come in emotionally, when you come into a room, those are the first things that people judge you on. And then you got to speak. So that's why mental's next. It's like, do you have the words? I remember being invited. So I've taught dance for like, I don't know, 30 something years, right? And one of my students invited me to this event. So I go to the event, and these guys start talking. They're like, hey, come over here. I want to introduce you to these guys, right? And I'm sitting there talking to them, or, I walk over there to them, and they're already kind of in a conversation. And they're talking about LTV and CAC and ROIs and all this, and they're using all these acronyms, these financial acronyms that I do not understand. It's like they could be speaking an alien language as far as I'm concerned at that point, because I have no idea what's being said. So I am trying to just fade into the wallpaper, you know what I'm saying? Like, I'm here, but I'm not here, because I don't want to start trying to interact with these guys, and then I don't even, like, they're going to know immediately that I don't belong here. That's the mental part. It's like, do you have the mental capacity, meaning the knowledge and the skill set, to interact in these conversations that are in this room that you wanted to be in? Now you're here, but if you open your mouth, are you going to look stupid? Right? You can keep your mouth shut and just let people assume whatever they want, or you can open your mouth and prove exactly where you're at. Right? So these are the things. It's like, of course people are going to judge you. You want people to judge you. Mm-hmm. Anybody that doesn't want to be judged, that's just an insecurity of their knowledge and skills. That shows you where they're at. Right? I want you to judge me. I just want it to be a favorable judgment. And the only way I'm going to do that is put a lot of work in on myself. And that's why I help people grow in tandem with their business. It's like, if you don't have these pieces, it's like, even if somebody handed you the opportunity, you can't perform. You can't do it. It's like, if somebody handed you the money, could you keep the money? It's like Jim Rohn had his saying, right? If somebody hands you $1 million, best you become a millionaire so you can keep the money. Because that's the knowledge. You're not financially literate.
Right.
It's going to be gone. Right. So that's the financial piece comes last, in my opinion. And that's why I see so many people putting first in these courses. Like, let me teach you how to make all this money. It's like, yeah, they're going to make all that money, but they don't know what to do with it. Mm-hmm. They're just going to go further in debt. What you're about to do is set them up to dig a hole that they will never get out of, ever. Because you're going to get them in a position to where they can get enough credit to where they can go crazy. Mm-hmm. And they're going to get the house and the car and everything, and they don't have the ability to manage it. And they're going to go bankrupt, or they're going to put themselves in a position that's just...
I know most people lose their business not because it's going bad, but usually it's because it's going good, and they don't, understand the tax side of things, and then they get hosed, and then now they're playing catch up when the year before they felt like they're having the best year of their life. It's an interesting dynamic, because, like, obviously they don't teach this stuff in school, and everyone had to learn the hard way. I mean, I guess unless you were raised.
Unless you were raised it, yeah.
But most people learn the hard way with taxes. But I do believe that level one is just focus on your ability to make money predictably. And once you feel like you've unlocked that, it's time to, the new game to learn is wealth preservation. Because for most entrepreneurs, everyone's different. If you have a business and it operates at 30% profit, you probably are like fine with your tax bill because of like all the costs and all those things. But if you are in business and you have very high profit margins, you're incentivized to have another strategy in place somewhere in the back door. But all this stuff is just like it can be a lot,
overwhelming quickly.
Yeah, 100. But that's the thing, is just like accepting the challenge. And this is why I love business, because it allows us to discover more about ourselves. And like, you don't realize what you need to grow in a lot of the times until the thing falls out from the bottom in whatever capacity. I have a friend, someone that I've been coaching. He teaches preaching, and God bless him, because he made I think close to $100,000 for the first year in his coaching business, and then he just did his taxes. It's like about to be April 15th. And his tax bill was like $26K, mm-hmm. which was his last W-2 salary as a part-time professor. And he's like, whoa, like, what an opportunity to be taxed this much, but also what the heck? Yep. And then that leads you down a path,
For sure.
Something that comes to mind, though, is I find that people who are really good at what they do because they've been doing it for a long time, they want to step in and kind of sell their knowledge for income or start an online business. And in many cases, I feel like they're in a good place. Like they're in the right place to deserve the success or earn the success, I guess you could say. But then it's like their business is so ground level, but they have been in it for a long time. Maybe it's a little bit of like the reverse dynamic of what you think about. You're saying like a person's business, you don't want it to like override their growth. But what if somebody is starting out and they have like all the credentials and all the stuff, but then the business is like.
So, I mean, and that would be one of the first things I ask somebody, you know, when they say, okay, I'm so I want some business coaching. It's okay. Or consulting, right? It's okay. So first thing I need to know is, where are you at? Are you just starting out? Are you growing your business? Are you trying to exit? And when I say exit, maybe you're trying to get acquired, or maybe you're trying to step out of doing the physical work and you're more in the position where I want to have people do the work for me, you know, so now that I can duplicate and scale. Okay. All right. So we got that part. Figure out where you're at in one of those pieces. Very, very important. We could come back to that later. Second thing is going to be, okay, so what is your mindset like? Are you an employee mindset? Or are you a business mindset? You know, and it's always, well, what does that even mean?
Yep.
It says, do you think per hour or per outcome? Like, it's huge, because per outcome is a completely different thing than per hour. Right. And that is a huge driver to whether or not you're going to be able to understand business and then effectively do business, execute on business. And it's going to
That's really good.
Really drive like who you hire and why you hire them. Because when you start hiring for executive level, you don't hire per hour. You hire per outcome.
Mm-hmm.
A laborer level is per hour, but an executive level is per outcome. It's kind of like salespeople. You know, if it's pure commission, that's per outcome. That's not per hour.
Right.
They can say, you know, if they sell cars, they can sit on that car lot all day long. If they don't sell anything, they don't get paid. You know, they have to have an outcome for them to get an income. But you have to think that way.
How do you train your mind to think that way if you are an employee-minded person?
You have to, it has to click in your head, right? So you have to be able to, like, Myron Golden has this thing, you know, and you know that, where he's like, okay, I can make you a millionaire, and I have this course, and it's $30,000, and it's, you know, 15 hours of me, 15 PDFs, and, you know, 15 hours of whatever, right? And I have same thing, except it's $50,000, and it's 1 hour, one PDF, and, you know, which one do you want?
Right.
Right, because you're paying for the you're paying for the outcome. Right? I want the one that gets me there the fastest, and you're willing to pay for that outcome right now.
100.
And once somebody that clicks in their head, it's like an employee that is going to forever be an employee. It just won't click. They just don't understand, because they're like, well, you know, it's hard work. You know, you just put in the work, and you have to do the necessary work. It does not matter how hard the work is. That's a very difficult concept for people to understand in the beginning, because they think, well, if I'm just doing the work, it's like, yeah, but here's the difference as an employee and a business owner. As an employee, the business owner has set up all the SOPs. They've set up the entire infrastructure. You come in, they're training you, they're telling you exactly what to do. They're giving you the tools. They're giving you the resources. They're giving you everything that you need. They just need you to show up, do your work every hour. You have a problem, come to me. Or come to your manager that I've set you up with. That's it, right? That's how you do it. When you're a business owner, you don't have none of that. You got to set all that up yourself.
Right.
Every problem you got to solve. All the tools you have to buy, or you have to, you know, acquire somehow. You have to do all that. So many people go from being an employee, jumping into a business, and you say, well, you know, I've been, you know, at this mechanic shop for the last 20 years. I know how to do everything in the shop. The owner's hardly ever there. I should just own my own shop, because the owner's not here.
Yep.
He said, well, the owner's not there because he's doing business. Don't you always have people coming in? Well, yeah, they come in because they know me. It's like, Is that truly why? Right? Do you know how to do accounting? Do you have any financial literacy at all? Or do you just do the mechanic work and then you get a check? You collect a check. Do you understand the concept that in a business, the money is not all yours? Like as an employee, when you get done at the end of the week and you get the paycheck, all that paycheck is yours, right? For you to pay your bills and whatever. But when you have a business, when you get the money, now you got to pay for the business, you got to pay for the marketing, you got to pay, and you get a percentage of what's left over. You don't even get what's left over. You get a percentage of what's left over because there's so many other things that come out of it, as you well know.
Yep.
It's a complete mindset shift. Like you said, if you don't grow up being taught how to do taxes and how to do accounting, how to do any of this kind of stuff, it's a real hard lesson that you're about to have to learn. Right? So it's helping people really see there's a lot more to it than you think, and just giving you a system, giving you the ability to make some money, saying, oh, I need to run off on my own. Man, that might not be it. It's almost like if you don't plan on making more than $150,000, just work for somebody else. Don't even try to start your own business, because the speed at which you will be able to extract $150,000 as an employee, the amount of time versus the amount of time that it will take you to extract $150,000 from that business for your pay after everything's paid, it's a lot longer time, most probably, depending on where you're starting from, But if you're an employee mindset, if you're a person that, you don't know anything about business or anything like that, I guarantee you could go get the knowledge to make $150,000 way faster than you're going to extract it from that business. That has to be something that you really, really want to do. I mean, you have to know things at such a mastery level, and you got to know how to teach. If the teaching component is what you're going to do, it's like, just because you can do it doesn't mean you can teach it. Teaching is a separate skill by itself.
100.
Right? And then speaking, if speaking is going to be the thing, and there's so many layers to it. So don't just assume that because you know how to do something that you also then know how to teach it, or that anyone even wants to learn it from you, because, how good are your communication skills?
Yeah.
There's so many pieces and so many layers that go into it. So it's really, you need someone that knows what they're doing to assess where you're at before you just go into it. It's like, just hit record, just do the thing, just get up there and slow down.
Yeah.
Slow down. Let's look at where you're really at. Being brutally honest about what your current knowledge and skill set is versus the opportunity that you want to take, because that's the whole thing that I'm doing. I'm saying, okay, if we say every single opportunity, if we say physically, emotionally, mentally, and financially, is on a scale of 1 to 10, and they say this next opportunity is an 8 across the board, what is your capacity in each one of those areas of that opportunity in relation to that opportunity? Now, if it's an 8 across the board and you happen to be a 8, 2, 3, and 6, doesn't match. That's not the opportunity for you. Just because now you can see the opportunity doesn't mean it's the opportunity for you at this moment. But if you have no way to analyze the opportunity and where you currently are, you start trying to take advantage of opportunities that you're not ready for. It doesn't mean that you can't ever do it, but not right now if you don't have the capacity for it. So you've got to have some way to analyze these opportunities and analyze yourself. And you say, well, I can do what Jim Bob over here can do, and he was able to take advantage of it. It's like, yeah, but his emotional capacity is like well beyond yours, right? He stays cool and you explode every time something happens. It's like, you're not ready for this, because this has a lot of emotional stress and pressure attached to it, this particular opportunity that you don't currently have the capacity for. And you need to know that. You need to be honest with yourself about that. Sometimes you need coaching to help you see that. But you need some, way, some metric to be able to measure it by.
Right.
And be able to understand, how do I do that? How do I assess an opportunity? And just because you now can see it doesn't mean that you should jump on it.
That's good. That's good wisdom, for real. I mean, my experience, I had these thoughts when I was doing work with Think Media. You tend to see opportunity, maybe because I was growing. I see opportunity we weren't jumping on, and it's so easy in my mind. And so, like, communicating a frustration up the chain, they have everything else they're currently doing. And so, like, for something I feel like is an opportunity, I communicate that up the chain. It's a distraction at that level. And it literally led me to actually starting a business, like a coaching consulting company myself. And that is because I felt like there was a different kind of person to serve. But I will be the first to say, bro, the amount of things they just took care of to make my job easy, it's almost like the amount of things that were in place to allow me to see the thing that's like, man, I could probably do that. It's like they created the space for me to see that possibility. Like you were saying, like the person's coming through the doors because they're putting the money in the ad spend. And then maybe they're staying because they're getting good work, but you told me what to do anyway. So I'm doing what you told me to do anyway. But yeah, it's a funny dynamic to go from employee to owner. I think it starts in the mind, starts in your belief, and then, actualized, I think you see it by testing. Do you believe, would you suggest anyone who feels like they can start a business to start a side hustle or attempt? Should everyone attempt working for themselves?
Absolutely not. Absolutely not. I don't think so.
Okay.
Right? You need to know whether that is a thing for you, because if you've never done it before, you need to know what's involved, and you need to say, am I ready to put in that kind of effort? Because it's all a version of you, right? There's a version of you that could do it, but you have to become that version of you. So there's a lot of things that I don't agree with that I hear people say, right? Like, you have greatness within you. You're a king, you're a queen, or there's that version. And then there's I'm going to have a business and I'm going to put CEO, president on my little card, right? Because I can just do that in Canva and have that printed. But you didn't you're not a different version of you. The version of you that did not have CEO or president on that card, and then you do it in Canva and print it, and now you're not different.
Yeah.
You just have a card with CEO on it or president on it. And in your mind, what happens is you say, oh, well, I'm a CEO now. I'm a president. But there's a definition of that you have. You have a definition of that in your head. And that definition may be somebody that drives a Mercedes or Porsche or whatever, right? And has $100,000 in their bank account and has the ability to solve these particular level of problems. That's where the real problem comes in, right? Is because in your subconscious, when you say, I am this, your subconscious says, got it. Now, it doesn't know the difference between your BS and it's a program that you just ran. You said, I am this. It said, okay, I will look for opportunities that line up with that. Yeah, but you don't have the knowledge and skill set to execute on those opportunities. That's why you keep falling flat on your face every time. That's why now you're blaming, oh, the devil got me. It's not in God's time. I don't remember God having a clock. Like, God don't have a budget nor a clock. So if you don't have the money, it ain't because it's not in God's time that you don't have it. Right? And it's not he's waiting. I got to wait until a few more prayers come in so I can give you the money. If you got streets to go, I feel like you probably ain't short on money. Just saying. And I don't think the devil it's you. Simple. All you have to do, I feel like probably Hitler wasn't walking with God. Saddam Hussein wasn't just walking, but they were still able to execute on goals, massive goals, and have massive outcomes. So it's not whether you're walking with God or not in that point, at that level. It's do you have the knowledge and skill set to execute on the thing? Simple. And if you do, and the network and the finance, and if you do, that's how the universe works.
Mm-hmm.
If you got this, you can have this. If you don't have this, you can't have this. God's for guidance. Like he already built you, right? You have everything that you need, but not everything that you need for this opportunity. Everything that you need to develop yourself into the kind of person that can execute on that opportunity. You don't forget the work component.
It's good.
The work still has to go in there. And if what you're doing is just skipping over the work component saying, oh, there's greatness within me. You know, I am enough. Enough for what? Exactly. What specifically are we talking about? Because don't just be saying that and then jumping into this thing, especially taking some people with you. And now we all going to fall down this hole together.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, no, you better be able to assess that. And you better make sure that you can execute on this, that you can have the capacity for that. You know, because businesses don't fail because they're undercapitalized. I mean, that may be a component, but it's not the main reason. I feel it's because the person that's jumping into that business doesn't have the knowledge and skill set to execute. Because I've seen businesses where the founder of the business didn't have much money at all, but then they grew it to something. And then ones that had lots of capital and they blew it all on stuff that didn't matter. And then they go bankrupt.
Mm-hmm.
So if that were true, if it were just capital, as long as you had the capital, it would succeed. But that's not reality. You know, reality is you have to have the knowledge and skill set. Period. You have to have it. Because when you go from an employee, here's the thing. Here's the biggest thing I would say in employee mindset. As an employee, you work, just a general employee, you work 8 hours, right? And you work 5 days a week. What does that mean then? There's 52 weeks in a year. You get 2 days off every week. What's 2 times 52?
104.
Mm-hmm. Now add in your sick leave, your vacation, and your holidays. You got 4 months off a year. There's 4 months that you don't work.
It's crazy.
That's almost half a year you don't work.
Yeah. No wonder they
As
take
an
40%
employee.
taxes off you. No, I'm just kidding. Yeah. No, that's real.
As an employee, you
Yeah.
have 4 months every year that you don't work. As a business owner, you're a business owner, how many days do you take off?
In my mind, I never take off a day.
Yeah. So if you don't know business, if you go from an employee to a business owner and you don't know business, you're going to have to learn business, right?
Yeah.
So you're going to have to take that 8 hours and you're going to have to double that so you can put in some time in learning it. Plus now you don't get weekends off. So now you're going to work all 4 months.
And now you're not compensated for time.
And you're going to double it.
Yep.
Why? Because that's 4 months at 8 hours a day, not 4 months at 16 hours a day.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So if you really just want to double your income, stop taking off 4 months a year. Just find something to do with the knowledge and skill set you currently have. And you could almost double your income.
Crazy. That's such a cool way to put it.
Yeah, so if that's all you want to do, you just need that. That's why I say you got to figure out the lifestyle and life experiences you want, because you may have what you need right now. You just need to put in a little bit more work.
Yeah.
Because I promise you, if you become a business owner, you're going to put it in whether you want it to or not. And you're probably not going to make the money that you're making right now. Because if you're making $80,000 right now, what it's going to take if you stopped what you're doing, if you just completely stopped working a job for someone else and started running your own business, that paycheck's not going to keep coming in.
Right.
You got to build that. You know, it's a big jump. So you say, do I suggest for everybody to do it? No, I suggest for you get with somebody that can give you the knowledge that I just said, and you say, am I ready for that? So if you don't have a year's worth of what it's going to take for you to live, because if you say, okay, it takes 2 years to extract for a business to make money. Now that might not be true, right? Depends on the level of knowledge and skill set you got, the network you got, all that kind of thing, right? True. But if you say on average, so that means for 2 years they're not making any money, right? And you're going to go into this with no capital or very little capital, let's say $20,000. Feel pretty certain that most everybody is costing more than $20,000 for them to live. So you need the amount of money that it takes you to live, and then you need the amount of money that it's going to take to start that business up. Then you need advertising dollars, and you need all these other things, and you need all that capital prior to even getting started in this business. Mm-hmm. And if that's not the way that you're going to do it, then you just push the timeline out farther. And like, don't stop this business. If business is going to take you working 16 hours a day all the time anyway, so why don't you just work your 8-hour job and then just work this other one in tandem until you can get up that? And that's why I say you need to start with physical and then go to emotional. Why? Because you need to start building the capacity. Because it's about preparation. The game is preparation. If you go into sports and you think about sports, like preseason's where the work is. Preseason's where you fail. Preseason's where you're stretching your limits and you're seeing what you can do and where you fall on your face. It's where you go all out. You don't go all out all the time. In the game, they're not going like they do in preseason. Because in the game, you just need to be executing. If you're playing a ball game, it doesn't matter let's say it's basketball, you're not figuring out how to dribble while you're in the middle of that game. Mm-hmm. If it's a real game. You're not trying out a new pass. You're not trying out a new little trick thing. You're not trying out a play. You're doing the plays that will work, right? You're not doing the plays that you're thinking about, that you want to try out. So you need that preseason. There's a reason they do preseason for a whole season before they get out, because they're running through the failure points. They need to find failure. So many people feel like, I can't fail. They're so scared of failure. Well, as a professional, and I've been a professional, you're looking for the failure points. Why? Because you want to push your limits. You want to see, where is this trick that you're going to do going to go wrong? Where is this thing that you're going to do? Where is it going to fail? Because I need to know what I can do. And then once I get what I can do, then I need to practice that and polish that and refine that. So now that I can perform it and it come out as performance, because as a professional dancer doing shows, you have to perform and connect with the audience and connect with the music and with your partner and all this. You can't be getting stressed about the trick because it's really, really hard. It's really probably harder than what you even should have done, or it's just way too dangerous. So, you come out of the atmosphere and you go into paying attention to the thing, and then you lose the connection with the music, your partner, and the audience. And now the atmosphere is not there, and it's not a performance anymore. It's you really practicing, right? You stretched it too far. You don't need to try to find your limits when you're in the show. You need to be just going through it. Like when you're on the master classes, when you're on these things, you're flowing. You're in flow state. Yeah. You're just doing.
Right. No, for sure.
That's where it's at.
I've learned to tell myself, I also learned it being in the military, like you don't rise to the occasion, you fall to the level of training. Mm-hmm. When no one's watching or doing the work and the physical activities, like the learning, the consuming, the development, and the doing and getting the data, then whenever you're in front, you're not in front to prove anything. You're in front to be who you are. And like the opportunity, like you mentioned, whether that's an opportunity I've created for myself or an opportunity that has come my way, whether it's preaching on a Sunday, speaking at a conference, tomorrow we got a workshop. Like I'm not trying to dig deep for anything.
You're just executing. You're telling people what works.
Yeah.
You're not telling people what you want to try out, right? You're going to try that out by yourself. It would be like let's say that you were boxing, right? And you watched all the videos, you got in the ring, you got in, let's say you're at the boxing gym, right? And you did all the things, you did all the work. You said, I'm going to put twice as much work in as anybody else, even the pro, like the world champion. He's at the gym with you. He said, I'm going to put twice the hours, right? And so I'm going to do all the tricks. I'm going to do all the things. I'm going to learn all the moves. And you do all that, but you don't ever get in a match outside of that gym. So you never get in an arena. Right, but you spar with the same people he does, and now you're beating up the people that he trains with, mm-hmm. that he has trouble beating up. You like, so I should be able to take that title belt, and then you get in that arena. And this is one of the things that like Mayweather would say, is like, they're not ready for the lights. Why? Because it's a different component. When you go into an arena with 30,000 people, and the only thing that you ever been in is a gym with just like, 50 people maybe max, it's different. All those lights, that music, those people, that atmosphere, is completely different. And you're not ready for it, because that's where your capacity breaks down. Mm-hmm. There's enough variables that are different that it affects you, and you can't function. You cannot execute. It throws you. And that's why I think people need to grow with where they're going, as opposed to try to say, I'm at this level right here. I make $80,000 a year. I'm going to try to make $800,000. That's too big of a jump. You don't know, like, let's say that you know everything about being an $80,000 a year person, right? You understand the tax laws more or less, right? You have an accountant, right, that handles that for you or whatever, right? And you live at an $80,000 lifestyle, but you want to step up to this $800,000 lifestyle. First off, you don't dress like that. You don't talk like that. You don't walk like that. If you go where those people are, you're going to think those people are all like cold and disrespectful. And the thing is you just walked over there and you started trying to have a conversation with them, and you don't have the vocabulary that they do. You don't talk the language that they do. You don't know. And even if you acquire the money, like, there's just nothing about you that's that. Mm-hmm. And those people, they're not just hanging out. When you are at that level, it's all about business and networking, and then it's very important that you protect your network. It's very important that you don't let people in who would break it down, because now there's so much at stake. And so much at stake, I mean, maybe as an $80,000 person, maybe let's say you have a business, but you got like 2 employees. This person over here making $800,000, they could have 200 employees. And all their friends have 200, 300, 400 employees. They do a business deal with you, or any kind of deal with you, and it screws up, that they're putting all those people's families at stake. Because if the business deal messes up and it messes up their business, then it affects them financially. Mm-hmm. And now they can't pay those people, and now those people can't take care of their families. So it's not that they're being disrespectful or rude to you, or being pricks to you or anything like that. It's that they have a level of accountability, responsibility, and liability that they have to consider with anyone who they let into their circle. And so it's, no, they can't just accept you for who you are. They accept you if you can measure up. Like, what is your value? Mm-hmm. It is going to be judged. It is going to be measured. And if you want to be at that level, get used to it. Because people have to take care of the other people that take care of them. And they can't have you coming in there and messing with that. It's not about whether or not you're going to go to heaven or hell. It's not about them judging your like morally or your character or anything like that in that sense. It's about them making sure that you don't disrupt the ecosystem that they took their whole lives to build, right? And so did their friends and family. It's like, they can't risk that. So it's a whole different game. And until you understand that game and you understand why it is, then you say, okay, I get it now. I get why I have to be okay with being judged. And it's like the only people that aren't going to be okay with being judged are the people that think it's going to be an unfavorable judgment. If you start putting that work in, and you know that when you walk into a room, you increase the value in that room, you walking in there all proud, sitting there like, judge me. Yeah. Judge me. Because I know it's going to be good. I know I bring value to this room. And you can be excited about it. You're not going to be offended by it.
Yeah, it's good stuff. How did you transition into this line of work from teaching dance?
COVID, really. Right? It's just the dance studio shut down at that time. I was living in Destin. And so when all that shut down, I actually was helping a buddy of mine who was a veteran. and he had lost a friend of his to suicide because he couldn't get into the group that he was in. He was in a treatment group, and he couldn't get to that group. So when he couldn't get to that group, he just couldn't manage himself, right? Yep. And which, I mean, we lose a lot. We lose like 40 something. It used to be like 22 veterans a day. Now it's more like 42 veterans a day, and that's just veterans. That's not first responders or anything like that, right? So he wanted to do something. So he went with Mission 22. Which that's, the main thing that they focus on is veteran suicide. And he did a fundraiser that was like a 100-mile bike ride, and then a marathon, and then a 1-mile tire flip. And he had to complete it in 24 hours. He did it in under 24 hours. So he just crushed this, and he raised like about, I don't know, $10,000, something like that. And I helped him put the thing together, advertise it, and filmed it, and whatever we did with it. And my girlfriend at the time, well, currently, she was a VP of an aviation company, right? MD Turbines, and they saw this, they donated to this cause, right? And then they had the MD Turbines Foundation, which helps veterans and first responders and children. They say, hey, can you do something like that here? So, we even brought him into this. The guy's name's Jeff Spire. He works for First Form, which I think is, in this area, somewhere close to this area. But they do, they have supplement company and whatnot like that, and they sponsor a bunch of athletes. So brought him in and started raising money for that. So we put together an event that's ran 6 years now, and that's what it does. It mainly focuses on veterans. We did the American Legion and what is Barracks Legend, right? So these are two veteran organizations. Barracks Legend helps put together events like every week for veterans to come attend for free, right? To just camaraderie, to help combat veteran suicide, right? And then, of course, what the American Legion does, But, yeah, so we put together a relay race. So it's a bunch of aviation companies that come together. They have teams of 6. We have usually about 14 or so teams that come out there. They pay to be in the thing, and they donate and they sponsor and all that. And then we, raise like $50,000-$60,000 to give to the different, to give to the different organizations to help with that. And then I have I run an organization myself, Sandy Finchy Solomon, Ageless World of Dance for Youth Veterans and First Responders. So long name, but it's one of my students, Sandy Solomon. She's like 88. She's 88 years old this year. Still hit like 8 turns in a row. She's been dancing her whole life. She loves dancing. She loves philanthropy. So she's, helped a lot of kids. And she asked me after I danced with her at an event, she said, would you help me put together a nonprofit? I said, sure, as long as we can work with, veterans and first responders, then, I'll do that. So now we work with veteran, first responders, and youth. Youth is like college students. And the money we raise is to pay for group class. It's like free group classes and parties for like 3 months per whoever, we donate it to, whether it's. So we work with different dance schools that have these group classes and parties, and so we set it up for them to be able to come in for free. And like I said, it helps with PTSD, depression, and suicide prevention, because the biggest thing is for suicide is isolation. That's the step before suicide. So being able to get them out, and the great thing about that is you don't have to go on a date. So a lot of times you've been military or first responder, they don't necessarily get along with civilians because they don't have a lot in common. The things they talk about and the things they've seen and the things that's on their mind are a very different world than the civilian world, right? So it's a little bit difficult to have a conversation. But in dance, all you have to do is say, would you like to dance? Thank you for the dance. If you could do those 2 things, that's it. And in dances, you don't have to bring nobody. If you got a place where people dance, you can just go. Everybody will dance with you and hang out with you. So you don't really have to talk. You can just say, would you like to dance? They're going to say yes. You get up. The music's on, so you don't have to have a conversation. So if you don't feel like you're, real good at conversation and, interacting with people like that, you don't have to. And you just dance, and then there's no obligation. You don't have to decide whether you're going to take somebody home. You just say, I'm done. You just leave because you didn't come with nobody, and you don't have to leave with nobody. You can just do that. So it helps, and it helps the college students because they would not have been usually paired with first responders and veterans. So, they play the video games, that has this on there, but now you get to meet these people, these heroes in real life, right? So you get to have that conversational mentorship, right? And that interaction that you wouldn't normally have. So, that's great. That's how I've continued on the dance. But to your question, how did I get into it, is like once I helped Jeff with that particular project, and I came to MD Turbines and helped them, they were like, oh, can you be our marketing manager, right? Can you put together these things and help us with the marketing too? Because I have that background, right? So I helped that. And then when the dance studios opened back up, I started doing that a little bit more, but I saw the need in the nonprofit world for, business coaching, business development.
Yeah.
And so I started working with like Born on Purpose and Josepha Benjamin. I think she was a colonel. She ran all the corrections facilities in like Miami-Dade or Broward County, right? And down in like Miami area. And when she retired, she opened up this facility called Born on Purpose, and it's like basically does like mentorship, and it has like Project Reset, which is a thing to help service individuals. Basically reset, because they're always helping everybody else, but they don't take care of themselves, right? So it's a program to do that. And then she has a ropes program which helps mentor people, and so it takes mentors and pairs them with mentees, whether it be young kids and whatnot like that. So it works with like Big Brothers Big Sisters, different organizations like that to help give them some mentorship and guidance. So I work with her. She has the main facility, which is like a 5,000 square foot facility, and then a podcast facility. And I help her run both of those facilities and talk to a lot of nonprofits. So we're talking to a lot of CEOs and a lot of executives. And a lot of times what they're not being able to do is dial in the avatar that they have. It's here's who I help, but here's who I need to get the help from. And it's very difficult sometimes for people to see the difference. And then when they're building out their programs, their fundraisers, whatever it is, their events, it's like, okay, so you have to understand that the event has to be built for the purpose, right? And not necessarily mixing the people, right? If it's you're here to give to the people, then you do this thing over here, but you're here to get funds to be able to take care of those people, then this is a completely different thing, right? And then how do you build the marketing around that? How do you build everything around that? And how do you even view it? Why are you even doing this? What is the outcome that you're trying to have? What do these people need? What is the outcome these people need to have? When we're reaching out marketing for people that are going to take part in the programs, it's a completely different marketing strategy than it is for the people that are going to pay for these programs to exist. So we're doing a thing right now where the whole business model is the model that I'm running regardless, is you need the people that are putting these nonprofits together to grow with the nonprofit. But the nonprofit going to crush them 100% because they will not be able to manage the pressure and stress that come with it. So you have to be able to grow in tandem with the business.
Yeah.
Right? Whether it's a nonprofit, whether it's a for-profit, it really doesn't matter. The concept is the same. But you need to be a leader, and you need to understand how to lead, and you need to understand what a leader is, because, and it still goes off those 4 pillars. Here's why. If I'm going to follow you, that means there's something about you that I want to be like. But if you physically look like garbage, I don't want to be like that. If you emotionally are a wreck, I won't be like that. If you mentally can't figure anything out, every time there's a problem, you just explode or shut down because your pattern recognition skills are low and your problem solving skills are low, I won't be like that. And if you broke, I won't be like that. So I don't want to follow you. Right? You have to have at least one component where I'm like, I wish a part of my life was like your life. That's why I want to follow you. Right? So to people to really understand what leadership means, it's not just, I know some stuff and I'm going to hand it to somebody. It's no. If you're going to be a leader, very different, a guide, a leader, then you have to step up in that. You have to be judged. You have to be willing to be judged. And you have to work on yourself, put a lot of work in on yourself. And if you would just attack those 4 components, that's huge. Right? I don't put the spirituality portion in it because, people have different views on that, and that's fine. But I mean, if you said, okay, how would God feel about this or whatever? It's like, okay, well, imagine that you're God for a second. And you built these people, right? You created whatever, right? These people that their brains were better than supercomputers, right? And the body that could endure so much and could do anything. And you say, this is your temple. Well, if your body looks more like a storehouse, a warehouse than it does a temple, like a temple's nice, right? It's all carved out and all like, but if you don't look like that, you just look like a storehouse that people put anything in. How respectful is that?
Yeah.
Just saying, right? If you have not built the capacity emotionally to manage the things that are coming, but yet you were built for that. You were built to be able to build that capacity. Not it was already given to you. You were built with the potential for it. The potential's there.
It's good.
You're just not putting any effort in to build that potential out. Like your brain, the capacity could increase. You just choose to watch cat videos instead of educational material and then put it into practice to see if you can actually execute on it. And it's going to be really hard financially for you to focus on who it is that you're serving if you're in survival mode all the time. So if you're not financially free yourself, what are you doing? You can't help but be focused on you. You can't help but be selfish when you're broke.
Yeah.
You can't. Because you don't know if you're going to be able to pay your mortgage or your rent or whatever it happens to be. You don't know if that car payment's coming in. So what you're doing when you put together these programs, everybody's going to sell you the magic potion on how to create a program that's going to make you a whole bunch of money. And what are you trying to do? You're trying to make a whole bunch of money. You're not trying to serve people. You're trying to make a whole bunch of money. And you don't even know what that even means. There's no real number to it because that's why you're still broke, because you don't understand finances, right? But you're in survival mode. Like if you're actually going to teach, if you're actually going to be a leader, if you're actually going to have one of these problems, it is your duty to become financially free. Like, do I think you should be a business owner first? No, I think you should figure out how to become financially free first.
That's good.
All right. That way, when you go to serve these people, you can actually focus on serving them. You can actually focus on what is their problem. So you can see a solution instead of looking at them as the solution to your problem.
That's good. Right?
That's all you're trying to do. You're trying to figure out, what can I tell this person that's going to get them to buy my course so I can pay my rent? But if you're not worried about your rent, you're just looking at them, okay, tell me again, explain it to me. Right? And man, you sitting there, you in it. And you can put yourself in their position. That's what empathy is. It's not sympathy. I don't feel sorry for you. Empathy is my ability to become you. Because when you ask me, what would you do in this position? You're not really asking me what I would do. Why? Because you don't have my skill set. Mm-hmm. You don't have my network. You don't have my finances. And I'm not going to do it for you. And you know that. So you're not really asking me what I would do. You're asking me to become you and be able to step outside of the box that you can't step out of because you're in the box and there's no way for you to step outside of the box. You are going to be affected emotionally and you're going to be clouded mentally because you cannot step out of your own situation. So you're asking me, it's like saying, if you were me and here's my knowledge and skill set and here's my finances and here's everything about me, what would you do? Because I can't figure this out because I can't get out of this box. But if I could, it's like you can give everybody all this great information. I can solve everybody's problem but mine. Why? Because I can't step out of my box. That's the reason you see a therapist. That's the reason you see coaches. That's the reason you see all these people. Because you cannot step out of your box. No one wants to know what you would actually do in their position. They want to know what they should do in their position. They just can't figure it out themselves. right?
So good. Bro, I mean, I feel like you got heat. I mean, you got a ton to clip from that.
Yeah.
What do you hope for people that are that's all it is right now is a dream? They're working a job they don't love. Step one is
get clarity on the lifestyle and life experiences that you want to have.
Boom.
Right? You have to understand that. Why do you want to be in a different position? Where are you currently at? Do you have value that you can bring to the marketplace? Because if you don't, like, the marketplace is everybody that would pay money for anything. So it's literally every person with the money they got. I promise you, they don't care what color you are, what race or what gender you are, how old you are. They want to know, can you solve my problem? If you can, you have value. If you can't, you don't have value. To me, in this position, because when you start talking about money, when you start talking about a job, they're in a job that they don't love and they want to do something else, then we have to look at it through the lens of what does the marketplace say about your value.
Yep.
So one of the things that I would definitely say to people looking at that is, like Alex Hormozy has this thing, is like, solve rich people problems because they pay better. Yes, true. Do you have the knowledge and skill set to solve a rich person's problem? Because if you don't, you're either going to have to wait to put your program together until you can, or you're going to have to solve somebody else's problem that's not rich.
Yeah.
So you might have to put a course together for less money and get more volume, if that's what you're doing, because you can solve people's problems that are, you might can do something with somebody that's your peer, that's where you're at, or somebody below you, but you're not solving anything from somebody above you, right? If they're above you in literally every level.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Like when I teach at the Boca Raton, which is a really nice hotel in Florida, right? It's a resort, really nice place. It costs like $110,000 just access, and then you still have to pay for everything else.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm a dance instructor there, right? So when I go in there, everybody is qualified, right, to do whatever they want to do. They have plenty of money to do whatever they want to do. But you still see people that are not in the physical condition that they want to be in. You still see people that go to that, as far as who I would interact with, right? They're going to an event that has music and people, and they want to get on the dance floor, but they don't know how. And what they can't do is they can't take $1 million and put it down on the table right then and know how to dance. It's a skill set that you got to build.
Yep.
So even though that person may own a yacht and they may be a billionaire, I'm not in that category, but I'm still valuable to them. Why? Because I have a skill that they want and don't have. So if you're going to solve a wealthy person's problem, you have to be able to help them solve a problem or acquire a skill that they don't currently have that they want. Right? So that's one of the things that I've seen in the courses, like you've been, coaching people through the community that we're in. Is people say, "Oh, I want to start this business for these people," and it's like, okay, well, tell me what you know how to do that they would want.
Mm-hmm.
Nothing. They just want to do it.
You're right.
Well, I want to sell it, and I want it to be for this much money, and I want to, but I don't know how to do it. The thing is, what you don't realize is the disparity between people that are poor and people that are wealthy. And poor is not a money. You could be, if you don't have money, you're broke. You can have a lot of knowledge and a lot of skill set, but have a gambling problem and you're broke.
Yeah.
And you have less money than a poor person, right? Poor is just low knowledge, low skill set. Broke is low money, right? So you can change that poor. There'll always be poor people because there's going to be plenty of people that aren't going to really increase. They're just going to do a labor job and they're comfortable, right? But if you're going to solve problems, you're going to have to step out of that and go up and up that ladder, right? So you first have to understand what that looks like. So if it's a job you don't like and you want to do something for yourself, it's like maybe the next thing is just for you to step into a job you do like, but you're going to have to increase your skill.
Yeah.
You're going to have to put in some work. It's not just going to I'm going to put a course together and sell it to people and they're going to buy it. It's like, why would they buy it? Does it solve a problem that they got? Are you valuable at all? Can you help me get a skill? If you can't do that, it's like, you need to understand how this mechanism works, right? You don't just get to put a course together and people are just going to buy it and people want to listen to you. Do you know how to articulate yourself? Are you articulate? Yeah. Can you talk in a linear logical progression where people don't get lost when they're listening to you talk? It's like, I start off, I got to give context. You say, okay, I got the context. I gave a hook. Are you in business but feeling like you've hit a wall? Okay, if that's me, you hook me, right? Yeah. Felt the same way you did. I did this. This is where we're going. And then you start talking about a baseball game and they have like, or something that happened to you today. Like you understand how it connects, but they're trying to figure out, and 15 minutes later, they're still trying to figure out how it connects back to the context that you originally gave them. And why am I even listening to what you're saying? So when you talk, are you able to stay in a linear logical progression? Are you able to give a context, stay on topic, and go from problem to solution and make me feel like I could be inside of that? Because if you decide that you want to go to a movie with somebody and you both sit there and watch the trailer and you're excited about it and they're like, yeah, I don't want to see that. And you're like, it's got 15 Grammys. What do you mean you don't want to see it? It's a great movie. The decision of whether or not they're going to want to go is, do they see themselves as a character in the movie? Do they connect with anything inside of what that trailer of what they saw when they watched it? And if both of those are no, they don't want to watch it. They have no connection to it. It doesn't mean anything to them. Right?
Yeah.
So that's what has to happen. It's like when you talk, do those people connect with what it is you're saying? And that's whether or not you're going to be able to sell that course to them, or once they get into that course, they're going to see value inside of it, because you've got to be able to take the people from the problem they got to the solution they want. They have to be able to see themselves actually being able to do that, and that your process or whatever it is the solution to get them there, and they really truly believe they can do it. That's the only way they're going to follow you. And the more things that you can add to you, like you look disciplined, you look this, you look that, and you can prove this, through maybe the stories that you put on your Instagram, whatever, the daily life that you live. Those are all going to be validation points. That's why you're telling people to do it. It's like, get on stories every day. Do this every day. Why? Because that's whether or not it's real. It's a really easy way for somebody to look at you and say, this person lives the life they talk about.
Yep.
Right.
Yeah, dude. I think thankfully enough at a young age, I was able to realize that defining what my life experience is going to be will determine what I do. Mm-hmm. And even experiencing all the successes over the last couple of years, it still has to come in alignment with the life experience I desire to have or currently have. And if it's anything outside of that, it could be a distraction or a disruption. And I don't know. Thankfully, I'm learning that in the rooms I'm in, it's very rare because everybody just wants more. And sometimes, like, the situation, I don't like to say complacency, but contentment's real. Like Paul says in Philippians that he's learned the secret to being content in all circumstances. And I think a lot of people think a circumstance is what brings them contentment, but in reality, it's what you define is contentment, which defining your life experience, because like we're not going to run away from work. Is not avoidable. Like, we're all going to have to work at some capacity. Getting skillful or good at what we do, that's a non-negotiable. He who is skilled in his work will sit amongst kings. You want to solve rich people's problems, get really good, like you're saying. And then realizing that it just might look something different. It just might not be the thing right now, because the thing right now doesn't give you fulfillment. But that's why finding the depth behind what you do with for others is very helpful, and is really what brings fulfillment and allows you to keep going. Like, see, that's why I'm jazzed after coach calls. I'm like, I feel so accomplished, because the amount of breakthrough that took place in an hour or two Zoom call. I feel like, dude, what else is there to do today? Like I feel like I can conquer the world just because like the context was created for people to gain new awareness. And but dude, appreciate you. Great stuff. I think that was fire.
Yeah, thank you, man. I really appreciate the opportunity just to sit here with you and to be in the community the whole year, and to see not just what I get for myself, but what you give to other people, and to see how it changes them. Because a lot of it is just to see reaction. It's like when I taught, over my lifetime of teaching people in person, you adjust what you say based on the feedback that you get. And the first time that I spoke into a camera, you look into that black hole and you're getting no response. So you don't know, is this going to hit with the person? You have no feedback to be able to adjust what you're going to say, how you're going to say it, any of that. And you don't even realize that you do it until you don't have it. And you're like, oh my God. So I don't actually just deliver. I'm constantly adjusting based on the people.
Yeah.
Right? So you have to learn how to deliver in a very different way when you're speaking to a camera and it's not on a Zoom call or anything where you can't see nobody. You're just like, I'm just going to deliver. Right? So, but the point, me knowing that I adjust what I'm doing, adjust what I'm saying based on the people, seeing you do that in real time and seeing how you do that, it allows me to think differently. It allows me to interact differently with the clients that I coach.
Yeah.
It's kind of like all the podcasts. When I work out and when I run, I don't listen to music. I listen to podcasts if I'm working out. I listen to books if I run, usually. Really, because running is boring. There ain't nothing else to do, no way, right? So I can really think about what's being said in the book, and I can apply it to my life and kind of jump back and forth. In a podcast, when I'm working out, I'm having to put more effort into what I'm actually doing, because there's things I'm doing. I have to pay attention to form and all that other kind of stuff, right? So it's harder to think like that, like you do with a book, but you're just in a conversation. Thing is, you can be in these conversations with, like, I listen to you on a podcast that you have with other people, or Alex Hermosi, or whoever it is, things that are relevant to the thing that I'm teaching and coaching and working with people. I might not know the person. I might not be able to sit with them like I am with you all the time, but being able to listen to them on a podcast continuously allows me to be in the room with them. And so now when you are listening to somebody and then you're responding, I'm getting to pick up on the nuances of how you think. Like I can roll it back and I can watch it, and I can watch how your head tilted, and I can watch different things, and I can see the visceral reaction that you had to it. And then what did you do? How did you do that? Why did you say what you said next? And I can sit and play with that, and I can figure out how you think, and then I can adopt that.
Yep.
Right. And it allows me to intimately get to know the person in a way that you wouldn't be. It's almost like you getting straight coaching from the person.
Literally.
So I'm able to do that, listen to your podcast, but then I'm able to actually be on the calls with you and see you do it in real time to a whole bunch of different people. Like, it's invaluable. Like, to tell people that's one of the things that you should do if you're ever going to decide to coach and everything. You need to pick a few podcasts that you like on them subjects. You just need to consume tons of it and then teach it to explain it to somebody. Because one of my coaches growing up in dance said, it's not yours until you can give it away.
That's good.
He said, if you don't, he said, you will never know whether or not you actually know it until you try to teach it to somebody. And then when they look at you like you just spoke a different language, you will know you do not know what it is you're talking about, right? You might can do it, but you don't actually know it. He's like, you will never be a good teacher until the person that you're teaching understood what you said. And you'll know that by the fact, can they execute? Did they do what you said without you having to repeat yourself 15 times? Did they enjoy being there? Are they excited to come back and see you? These are all markers of a good teacher. He says, so always remember, son, it's not yours until you can give it away. He says, you really want to know whether you know it, teach it.
Bro, shout out to the dance teachers, bro. They got the game.
Dude, let's go. Awesome.
Thanks, bro.
Yeah, that was awesome.